Hello, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. So if you've been watching the videos, you know I've done some of these all signs videos and I've really been enjoying them. So I'm doing another one. This one is for the Leo new moon that we're having, that will be happening the day that I post this. But if you're watching it at some later date, it's whatever new moon is about to happen for you. So there's underlying that I'm going to do as kind of a collective reading, the whole sort of theme. And then there's a pile for each sign that I've pre-shuffled and chosen, but I have not looked at any of these cards. So for the collective, we have the Fire Fairy. The Full Moon Temple, which says celebration, peak, transcendent moment. Water Spirit, manifesting dreams. The Temperance card in this Sacred Web Tarot. The King of Wands. The Four of Wands. And then this North Expansion card. So there's certainly an activation happening. It's interesting, this Fire Fairy never really looks right to me because she has this self-protective body language going on. And her face is, I mean, there's an intensity to her gaze, but there's also sort of a level of apprehension a little bit too. She's not, I don't really feel like she's confident. And so maybe that is what is about to change for us as a collective here. That as we experience this moon, I mean, here we're seeing the full moon, and so maybe it is, this cycle going from this new moon to the full moon in Aquarius at the middle of the month. And actually, there is some intense astrology that goes with that full moon. There are two T-squares, one in mutable signs, Venus, Saturn, and then the Jupiter-Mars conjunction that's happening in Gemini, so Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini. And then there's another T-square that is the full moon in Leo and Aquarius. And then there's almost an exact square to Uranus in Taurus. So there is intense energy coming at the culmination of this moon that begins now. So there is this rising energy. And then, of course, manifesting dreams. Who doesn't want to do that? And then this card always looks like an arrival to me. It might be a person. It might be an event. It might be whatever it is that you're manifesting, that we are manifesting, that's arriving. It can also be part of the process, or it can be inspiration, because the next card that's staring at this happening here is the King of Wands. And he always appears to me as if he's about to rise from his throne. He's always ready. He's always ready to act when the inspiration arrives. So that may be what this arrival is. And then this Four of Wands, especially this Four of Wands, which is less about sort of structure or, you know, coming together or marriage or these kinds of things, and more just about sheer exuberance. Right? 4 fiery unicorns taking off. And then, of course, expansion in the north. So there's something that is going to arrive as an inspiration. It might be a person, might be an idea, might be a thing, an event, an offer, kind of in a general way. And that, of course, does go with the Leo new moon. Leo being the sign of creativity, of artistry, of a childlike approach to life. Right? The Sun card. The Sun card is technically in tarot associated with the sun, but the sun is Leo's guiding planet. Right? This exuberance, this shining. So that's all very auspicious and exciting, I think, for all of us. It's interesting, this King of Swords is here, facing, right? He is the sign of Aquarius, usually. A little bit of a nod to that Aquarius full moon that will happen on August 19th. So we're going to begin with Aries, as always. Restriction. The relics of Lemuria, which also says fragments, memory, reclaiming. Wild Rose Fairy with love. The Hierophant. Although he has a very Leo sort of feeling here because it's the Strength card that normally has that infinity symbol. Oh, the Ace of Wands. Judgment. And we'll leave this last card for the end. So I'm going to say that if you've been feeling restricted, Aries, that these are the leftovers of something, the relics of the previous ways of being, the previous ideas you have, perhaps about creativity. You know, there's this bird that looks about to take off up here, and kind of angelic, right? This white bird that you're going to reclaim. I want to say that you're going to reclaim your fire, Aries. If you felt dimmed, restricted in that way, like you couldn't act on things, if you're watching this when I post it in mid-2024, certainly the last several years may have presented you with a variety of restrictions, or at least a feeling that way. That somehow, I know that your light was muted, that your fire had been sort of turned down. So instead of being, you know, a blazing light, you're kind of a little pilot light. And now you are being activated. It's like you're having your fire turned up with this love card. And maybe that is what was missing. Maybe you've been doing things strictly in a survival mode kind of way. Just putting one foot in front of the other. And that you kind of haven't looked up. You haven't experienced love, right? Like love of life. I think of Aries as a sign that does have a lot of love just of life, just of being alive. That is an Aries thing to me, as the first sign. That just, this exuberance of just being alive. And there's something here with the Hierophant about taking it back. Taking back this exuberance, taking back this love of living, taking back a joy of life that you haven't felt, perhaps in some time. And it's this wand. And I'm not sure what this is. I think it's going to be different for each of us. But this is something I'm really seeing, right? This hand showing up with this object. That something is going to arrive from outside of you. You're going to have an idea that you've never had before. Maybe there will be a communication from somebody, an offer from somebody. Maybe there will be an event. It could even be a person. It could be a person bearing the idea, a person bearing an offer of partnership or something. But there is, right, this, you are being handed something. Sometime in this moon cycle. Now, it could be between now and the full moon on the 19th, or it could be between now and the new moon in Virgo in September. But you are being handed something that will enhance. I actually think that in some ways it's coming after, right? You've made this decision to take back who you are, to become Aries again if you lost that. And that decision is partly what brings in this wand. And then that, is the signal for whatever new thing is going to come. And that it is a significant newness. Something that will really feel like a life alteration, a life change. Last card, what is it? Oh, look at that. Magnetism. Attraction. So that's the deal, Aries. All you have to do, and I realize it's kind of a big all you have to do is reclaim, right? Reclaim this. Reclaim Aries. And this new moon may really help you do that because it will be trine Aries. That's an easy flow of energy. All right, Aries. Taurus. The novice. Sacred journey. It also says introversion, seeker, and self-knowledge. Well, that goes very well with the novice. Bear spirit, healing. Also very Taurus-y there with the bear. Four of Wands. Oh, Queen of Pentacles. And the Magician. Taurus. Well, this, right, is clearly a progression. Right, you are setting out on some sort of quest or learning experience. I think that I want to say that you've already chosen what it is. Or that you already know what this is. And it's possible that you've already begun. But if you haven't, this new moon is the opportunity for that. And that you have your destination, the vision of what this will be when you reach the end of it. And that it does involve coming to understand your own capacity. I think that there is, I mean, I don't know, we've only started, so I don't know, if I should say, but I'm going to go ahead. This feels as if this new moon may be the signs and the people really returning to themselves, right? To have this healing. Aries reading, if you didn't watch it, is about their task is to become really Aries, to reclaim that. And yours seems to be perhaps healing some aspect. It may be with the bear, there's so many, all of the signs have their stereotypes, the way, or shadows, or stereotyped shadows. That Taurus might be slow, lumbering, lazy even, or stubborn, all of these things. But coming out of that into really acknowledging the flip side of that. Stability, strength, constancy, determination, loyalty, earthiness. And there's this bee rising with pollen. That you've collected something along the way. And now you've really begun to understand its value. That perhaps you've been collecting experience, knowledge. I mean, it may be, right, this novice idea, it could be that you've been on this path for a little while, that actually you're not starting now, but that you've been going. And then you're coming in to acknowledge what you've collected. And then the Queen of Pentacles. Taurus, in this queenly way, this Venus way, caring for self, caring for Earth, having a real embodied sense of wealth, having sovereignty, and then the Magician with that creative capacity, the ability to bring the dream into reality. You know, I think of that sort of as the Taurus-Scorpio axis. We'll see what comes out for Scorpio. But that Scorpio is very like the composty place, the spiritual place. And then Taurus brings it into being, into manifested reality. Here through the skills of the Magician. And then this final card. Animals, companionship, so extra earthy energy, right? To go with the bear. So really leaning into Taurus, leaning into your earthiness, to your connection to the physical world, to the manifested world, and to nature in particular. This could be literally the magician's path, that you're starting here as the novice and you end as the magician, that this is really about magic, actually, about practicing magic, manifestation. And that nature and animals may have a strong lesson or a strong connection to how you bring things into being, Taurus. Taurus as master magician and creator. Gemini. Burden. Mountain lights. Light beings, portals, subtle energies. Hummingbird spirit, joy. Seven of air. Knight of wands. Queen of cups. This is one of the cards that never looks like what the word says. This does not seem burdensome at all. Isn't this a pretty scene? There's these lovely leaves. And I don't know if these are meant to be paper birch or aspen trees. I think of them as aspen trees. And that's sort of related to you, Gemini, because the aspen can be a single tree that has a lot of trunks in a single grove, right? Like an aspen grove is a single being, even though it may look like a whole grove of trees. So this group idea, and that kind of continues here with these mountain lights. This seems like, right, like a gathering of light beings that's getting together on this mountaintop. And that they're getting together joyfully, that their purpose is joy. Their purpose is, and I would say that their purpose is to enliven others. And maybe that's where the burden comes in. that it's not your burden, Gemini. It's other people's. I sort of feel that in this eagle and this Seven of Air, Seven of Swords card. He looks distressed. Maybe he's exhausted. The Seven of Swords, that's, perhaps too many thoughts. It can be self-deceptive thoughts. It can be lies, either other people's lies or your own, conceivably. But here, maybe it's other people. And not lies in a malicious way, but those lies that we tell, people ask us, how are you doing? And we just say, oh, I'm fine. When you're nothing of the sort. A kind of, like a burden, right? The burden of trying to appear joyful. Maybe you know someone or some people who's been putting on a brave face or a happy face because they think they're supposed to. And I was watching a video yesterday by an astrologer named Sarah Verba about Mercury retrograde, and it's one of her favorite transits because she likes its subversive nature. That it contradicts all those things in the modern world, right? Go, 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 produce, 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 achieve, move forward, move fast, always progress. And like the Mercury retrograde can interfere with that. And interestingly, it's the transit that everybody knows about. Even people who know nothing about astrology will sometimes know about Mercury retrograde. And that it is, disrupts communication and technology and contracts. So it's really well known, and her theory there is that it's well known because it disrupts this mainstream view. And Mercury is going to go retrograde. He actually turns retrograde the day after the new moon. In the wee hours of August 5th, at least here on the east coast of the US. And he's going to move from Virgo, who's another Gemini guided sign, into Leo. He's not going to touch the space where this new moon happens. But he is going to cross over the space where the sun will be at the full moon in Aquarius. When the moon is in Aquarius. So there's something about disrupting this mental burden that other people have had. And it could be you too, Gemini, perhaps. But I have more of the sense that you are both this Knight of Wands and then this Queen of Cups. So there's this joyfulness, this exuberance, this bringing the torch of freedom and knowledge, bringing the fun, but also the Queen of Cups. There's also a good deal of compassion, of tenderness, of understanding why other people are having this experience. This is not a judgmental energy. And then last card. Oh, interesting. Atoms building. Right? It's the lights. coming together to build something new, Gemini. So whatever this is, this process of disruption, Gemini, its ultimate purpose is to build something new. Of course, yes, to create. Oh, I look forward to seeing what that is, Gemini. Cancer. Letting go. The light dancer, which also says illumination, the radiant self, shining soul. Spirit guardian of spring, activation. The 8 of air. King of cups. 10 of wands. Well, Cancer, clearly you're letting go of something. And whatever it is going to leave you feeling so much lighter. I don't know, maybe, right, you're right next door to Gemini. Maybe you're the subject of Gemini's subversive light. Or maybe you're just benefiting from that energy that's happening next door to you. We'll see what Leo's doing on the other side. But you're just going to be lighter. You know, sometimes I think that both Cancer and Capricorn can have this energy of excess adulthood. All right, Cancer is associated with the mother. And we have this thing in our culture about mothers being sacrificing. You know, they eat last. Or, you know, if there's only one cookie left, they give it away. Right? That they sacrifice for their children. And this seems like a burden. Right? This energy of the burden that wants to be lifted. Right? Aries had a restriction. In Taurus, we talked about the kind of burdensome descriptions that Taurus can have. Gemini had the actual burden card. So there's something about the energy of this new moon that is about lifting some of these burdens, or allowing us to drop them. Right? To become activated. To lift off, to leave whatever constrictive place we've been living in. And then for you, interestingly, it's to arrive in this King of Cups space. To really have sovereignty, to only deal with those things that you want to. Right? The Queen of Cups is usually associated with Cancer, but that has that mother vibe. And interestingly, she did come out for Gemini. And maybe you're allowing somebody else to give you some of that energy, perhaps. Or you're just abdicating the need to always be the mother, to be the mothering energy in any situation, or to be the parental energy in any situation. The King of Cups is not associated with parenthood. He is associated with Scorpio. Right? Which is about kind of the authority of spirit, magic, the deeps, transformation, keeping one's own counsel, not babying anybody. And that's right where you're headed. And then to do that, right, you got to drop the 10 of Wands. You got to let it go. I mean, here you are, right? You're looking with longing at this King of Cups. And you can totally do it. You can totally let it go. Cancer. Last card. Oh, see that? Dark matter, mystery, Scorpio. So there's something here about you leaning into Scorpio. Cancer. And that energy is totally available to you. That's a trine, a fellow water sign. You can absolutely reach out and like borrow from that Scorpio energy. And we'll see. I don't know. You might want to watch the Scorpio reading, possibly, maybe. We'll see what happens there. But to not be so parental, right? And that doesn't mean you stop caring or, about people. The King of Cups totally cares. He's very compassionate, very wholehearted. But he doesn't take on things that are not his. All right. Cancer. Leo. What's happening on Leo? Oh, look. Birth, rebirth. In the space of the new moon. And the green man. Standing stones, passages. Student of earth. 6 of Pentacles. And 7 of Cups. Oh, Leo. Well, I want to say that you are, well, that you're being, right, there's a rebirth happening. And that it's a creative rebirth. And it has kind of an interesting quality of both master and novice. Because there's this green man, rising energy surge, fertility, that's very much a master sort of energy. The embodiment of viriditas, of the life force. But then there's also, with this passages card, and she looks, right, she's kind of, not that she's hesitating, but she's taking a little pause before stepping forward. And then there's the student of earth energy. So I think, Leo, that while you have mastery around many aspects of Leoness, that there is now an energy of cooperation that you are going to learn. Right here with the Six of Pentacles. And then the Seven of Cups, which, you know, shows this collaboration. I think that if up until this point, your creative endeavors, and maybe even just your life in general, has been solitary, or even if you've been in a relationship or a partnership, that you've thought of yourself as a solo act, and that can absolutely happen. Even if, you know, you've been married for 20 years, it's possible to have thought of yourself as an I for all of that time rather than a we. And there's something about this new moon in particular, and it may be the sextile to that Jupiter-Mars conjunction in Gemini. So this new moon is sextile, that Jupiter-Mars conjunction. So that Gemini sense of we, of more than one, also that it's a conjunction between Mars and Jupiter, and that it's Jupiter and his expansiveness. So I think that though you have mastered solo creation, whether that's actually in an artistic way or a, you know, sort of a business way, or if it's just how you live your life, you are now moving into a we energy. This could be romantic. You know, it could be that you and your partner decide to have children, and that, you know, having a little tiny life that is absolutely dependent on you, that's very different. You know, even if you've been married for 10 years. Or maybe you're gonna, right, join up in a partnership, or you're gonna move from, you know, having a position at your job where you work very much solo to being part of a team. So many possibilities. I'm gonna stop with the examples. But you're going from I to we. Last card. Oh, joy. Leo, joy. This transition is going to be so joyful for you. That it'll be like an awakening. You know, she looks as if she's woken from sleep there and is stretching. That there's an awakening here. You know, maybe you had no idea, possibly, how amazing partnership or teamwork could be. You know, possibly you had early experiences that sucked. But now conditions are different. You are different. And this we thing is going to bring you a lot of joy, Leo. Virgo. The water fairy. The Aurora Garden. Beginning, initiate, origin. The Enchanted Fern Grotto. Refuge. This card has been coming out a lot. The Source of Air. Four of Wands again for the third time. Five of Cups. Oh, Virgo. feel like you have some sort of secret, Virgo. That you have been working on something in secret. I mean, maybe it's even secret from you, right? From your conscious mind. But it may not be. It may just be secret from us or from the people around you. But I have the sense that we've surprised you. That you're doing your thing in this here in the Aurora Garden, and you know, you hear a noise and you turn around and there we are looking at you. And that there's something, right, that's beginning, this initiate or initiate. And I want to, you may want to go watch the Gemini reading if you haven't. They write these lights here are a callback to the Gemini reading. And both you and Gemini have Mercury as a guide. And Mercury turns retrograde the day after this new moon. In fact, it's less than a day. It's like 18 hours. And he's going to move from Virgo into Leo and then back again. So it may be that you and Gemini are going to get together in some way. It could just be in an energetic way. You could meet a Gemini, possibly. But you are, right, you are creating something, Virgo. And you've been doing it privately, secretly, because either because you enjoy that, right? You like creating surprises for people, or there may have been concern that people would get in your way, or because your subconscious is working on this and letting your conscious mind do whatever it's going to do. And I'm going to pull the final card from the Gemini reading, right? These atoms. So there are connections. And then we have the source of air, who actually sits in the queen position in this deck, but is, it is different, right? This source of air, the source of an idea, the source, and that you are the source, that you are creating this thing. And that whatever it is joyful, is meant to bring people together in some way. Examples, you've been planning some sort of new retreat center, or maybe you've decided to have a weekly meditation get together or weekly discussion group. It could even be like a book club, right? That concentrates on certain kinds of books. In order to create a real environment for growth and expansion. And then this Five of Cups is just confirming your concentration. Right here, you've been, you're in this watery garden, lots of water place, really focusing on this project, on this new creation. Could be a book, could be a podcast, could be a YouTube channel. See? Darkness moon. We're not allowed to know. It's secret, Virgo. You have a secret. And with this moon, there is the possibility that it's secret even from your conscious mind. And that after this new moon, it will suddenly be visible to you. Well, I'm excited to know what it is. If you know what it is and you're prepared to share, do put it in the comments, Virgo. Libra. Forgiveness. The crystal path. Mineral spirits and crystal beings. Spirit guardian of winter, retreat. The source of fire. Two of Wands. And the Six of Cups. Oh, Libra. You are creating a home. And I don't know who it's for necessarily. It could be that you're intending to have a child. But there is, right, because we begin with this forgiveness, I want to say that you are creating a home for someone or some people who have previously in the past had difficulty. Either with you or, right, that you're creating a sanctuary perhaps of some kind. Right, with this crystal path, I'm not really seeing, this idea of working with stones or crystal beings. I'm seeing this as this retreat being created, right? This crystal dome. And that there's this fire, like a hearth fire. The candle burning in the window. A space of warmth and welcome. And maybe a space of warmth and welcome for anybody who kind of has been out in the cold. There's a John le Carré novel, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Right, this idea of being outside, or that Five of Pentacles image of the people trudging through the snow, through the cold, the little match girl, right, being out in the cold, being cut off in some way from the warmth of human kindness, from the warmth of family, of kinship. And there, right here you are looking out for all of these people who are coming to you. And I don't know how many people this is. It may be that there's just one person who you're hoping, or who you are, kind of sending this energetic signal out to. Or maybe you've even, written them a letter, or sent them a text, or left a voicemail, inviting them into this retreat, right? Into this safe Six of Cups space, where all is well, where there is welcome and love and sustenance and refreshment for whoever they are, right? There's bunnies and a rabbit, and there's a sort of a funky doll person here, and then there's all these fish, and right, it doesn't matter how they look, who they are, you are welcoming them in to this retreat, to this sanctuary. And I feel like the forgiveness is more on their side. I think that you have already, that you're beyond this, if you needed to be. If it's a single person, if they did something that required forgiving, that you've already done it. And that the forgiveness now is theirs, that they need to forgive themselves. Just kind of just the energy of forgiveness, this energy of allowing, of releasing the past. There is this theme that's been running through the cards of a release of something. The release of a burden or a restriction. Last card. Oh, see that? The equator. Right? Welcoming the other. Letting them know that they are equal, right? In the sense that they are as worthy of love and belonging as you or as anybody else. Oh, Libra. That's lovely. That is lovely. Scorpio. The mystery. The oracle, which also says sacred living, spirit speaking, intervention. Starry night, acceptance. Seven of Cups. The world. Five of Swords. Scorpio. This feels like accepting a kind of spiritual mantle or vocation of really actively stepping into the mystery. of actively stepping into this oracle space. And the thing about the oracle is one can approach this in many different ways. The ancient oracles, they didn't, right? I mean, of course, it's hard to know. All we have is sort of third-person accounts. So we don't really know, how much did the oracle edit? Did she edit? Certainly, I think some people were turned away from the oracle. That she may have refused to deliver some messages. So there is a responsibility, a management of this. And maybe that's something that you've been avoiding, Scorpio. That you've been avoiding some responsibility that has to do with your ability to see. And this might be in a very mundane way. It could be that you really see, for example, what's happening in your own company. Maybe you're in the company and there's something happening that is counterproductive or is harmful or is, making difficulties for people that work there. And you can see really clearly what that is, but you've been kind of keeping your head down and not sharing. And that now you are ready to accept this role, to accept speaking, accept being the oracle. And that with the Seven of Water, Seven of Cups, that the outcome is uncertain, that is part of the mystery. You can't, of course, see all ends. Even the oracle can't see all ends. But that you are prepared, right, to step into this new world. To accept being in this new world. And to accept any difficulties that other people might have with your speaking. To be willing to encounter conflict, criticism, your own mental perseverations, perhaps. It's a very vulnerable thing. And vulnerability has to be managed carefully. Danielle Laporte has this story of being on a retreat and somebody in the retreat being really encouraged to share something deeply personal and disturbing. And then, receiving a lot of approbation and yay, he's shared that. And she had the feeling that he was later gonna really regret it. Because it was too much, right? It was too much vulnerability. So that has to be managed. And so that part of this responsibility that you're taking on, Scorpio, is to know, right? To know when to speak and when not. even perhaps to know how much to say at a given moment. I mean, it could be that this is also you perhaps taking on a role entirely that you've been avoiding. Maybe you've been getting this nudge to become a therapist or a diviner, or, you know, someone who encounters people in emotionally vulnerable spaces and who therefore has power, right? A therapist can have really a lot of power over their client. And that part of the integrity of that role is not to use that, even if you are using it for good, if we want to say that, right? If you think you're helping. So there's something here, and maybe, right, this is more releasing of restrictions. I don't know, what's the last card? Oh, yes. Fire, ignition. Which is also number 8, right? This number of power. Also the 8th house, which is associated with Scorpio, is associated with secrets, with taboo things, with how we interact with others, especially in, you know, the areas of sex and money. Maybe you want to be a sex therapist. Possibly. So there is an ignition happening, Scorpio. Whatever this thing is that is murky and that requires careful handling and integrity and fearlessness, courage to go into the dark, to go into the uncertainty. If you've been holding back, I think you're going to accept now. The ignition is happening, right? This new moon is square Scorpio. Sagittarius. Disruption. The mother awakens. Compassion, nurture, and guidance. Air spirit, knowledge. The 2 of fire. 9 of swords. 2 of cups. Oh, Sagittarius. I'm not sure. I think it might be you that's getting disrupted, as opposed to you being the disruptor. And I think that you have something in common with Leo. And it's not surprising. Fire signs do have, particularly Aries and Sagittarius, a real sense of the I as opposed to the we. Even Sagittarius, who is, right, comes after Libra, so is more transpersonal. There is a sense of, right, of Sagittarius arriving with the torch, of Sagittarius as the teacher. not so much as being, you know, kind of one amongst many. We don't really get that until a little bit of Capricorn and then Aquarius. But, right, there is the disruption. And then this awakening is, I think, not so much about the mother or, you know, this kind of nurturing thing, but just the heart space. This rainbow is coming and meeting the heart space. That if you have been, you know, and I'm just noticing, I don't usually notice it. I know that he's there. But there's this other figure here, right? That we just see him a little bit in profile. You know, possibly the father to go with this mother. But regardless, it's another person. And I want to say that, like Leo had a bit of this, that you are, right, that your heart is kind of opening to other people. To other people being there in your experience. And this is a journey of some kind that needs to be made in your own mind. Right? Even with this Two of Wands, there's this, right, this separateness. It's not a Two of Wands that's looking out onto the horizon. It's a Two of Wands that's still in its cocoon. And I want to say that this is really, right, this card from the introduction of an arrival is really coming through for you. Because then we have this Nine of Swords. This waking up. And I want to say that this is waking up not from a bad dream, exactly. You know, maybe sort of. It's not a nightmare. It's a distorted dream. So through your life, you've had this dream, or you've been living in this dream, where you had to be solitary. You had to look out for yourself. That maybe other people were, if they weren't in active danger, that at the very least they were a burden. And there's that word burden again that's been showing up. So you are releasing this idea that in order to be safe or in order to achieve, that is a Sagittarius word, achievement, to reach that goal, that, you know, center of the target, that you needed to be solitary. You know, it might not even be that you don't trust people. It may just be that people seemed like a liability. That to become too entangled with other people was a liability. Right? That you just, you know, you've kept things light. You've kept things, you know, maybe you've kept things really cheerful and, you know, but kind of on the surface. Right? You haven't made yourself vulnerable. But now there's this heart opening happening. Right? This new moon is trine your sign, coming through the fire. And it's coming from the heart space of Leo, right? The heart is the organ in the body associated with the sun. It's the place where the most gold, the actual mineral, the actual metal gold, exists in greatest concentration in the heart. And so we have the Two of Cups. Intimacy, partnership, being vulnerable with another, sharing with another. And it may be romantic, or it could be platonic, right? Just opening yourself up to somebody. Last card. Oh. Change. So, Sagittarius. Disruption and change. That when you open your heart, when you change your mind, right? This is the winds of change, change in the mind. When you change your mind, everything else will change, right? You change your mind and the whole physical world goes with it. Sagittarius. Capricorn. Movement. Open like the lotus. Flowering spirit, revelation, maturity. Secret spring, success. Three of Cups, Three of Water. King of Pentacles. King of Wands. Well, Capricorn. Clearly, you are moving. You are leveling up, shall we say. You are moving up the ladder. You are opening like the lotus. You are accepting success. And I think, you're doing it in a kind of joyful way, in an inclusive way, in a celebratory way with this Three of Water, Three of Cups. Right? I sort of see you as the crocodile here. And then there's the bird, there's the fish, there might be other, beings around there that we don't even see. That you are really sharing this success. And in this, right, both because this movement has a lot of water, certainly as does this lotus, this, beautiful flowering, there is this sense of Venus in this. And, I'm sort of interested in the Taurus had the Queen of Pentacles come up, which is normally associated with you. And you have the King of Pentacles, which is normally associated with Taurus. And it's as if you are sort of borrowing from each other. Right? Taurus was throwing off any, notions of stubbornness or weightiness or lumbering through life. Perhaps being more proactive, more Capricorn-y in some way. And you seem to be borrowing from Taurus. You seem to be very Venusian. There's all this water, right? It's the secret spring. And the Three of Cups. But then there is this double king energy. So wealth, abundance, success, right? You've really built something. You've created something that is affluent, that is full, that's like a cornucopia. But then you also have this fiery King of Wands. He's associated with Leo, right? He came out in the intro. There's just a new joyfulness to you, Capricorn. I don't know, I've been feeling it in a number of your readings. And although Pluto has one little last dip into your space, he enters less than a half a degree. It's like sticking a foot or a toe back into Capricorn from around September 4th to November 19th, I think. I think you already really, you took that Pluto transit and really made good use of it. And now you're, kind of already on the other side and really ready to go. And speed with movement again. So movement to start and movement to end. You are totally on your way, Capricorn. And you are just filled, right? You're filled with this abundance, filled with light. Oh, I hope you really feel this, Capricorn. Aquarius. Trust. Oh, interesting. The Seer. Which also says future prospects, decisions to make, seeking guidance. Aspen Spirit, courage. The Fool. The High Priestess. The Ace of Swords. Oh. All of these cards, they're making me think of the Scorpio reading just now. I mean, the Oracle card came out and you have the Seer. There's also this idea of courage, of trust. Of stepping into some other new space. And I don't really know what it's about, Aquarius. That may be annoying. But I think there's so many different things it could be. But there's some sort of thing that you've never done before. And that you have gathered the courage, the trust, maybe you've received the intuitive nudge, the sign. I have the sense that this sword is a bit like Excalibur, that the Lady of the Lake has arrived and given you this sword and said, you're ready. Aquarius, time to go. It is the full moon in Aquarius that will happen on the 19th that is square Uranus. I talked about that in the intro if you didn't go there. On August 19th, full moon in Aquarius, around 26 or 27 degrees, almost exactly square Uranus. While at the same time, there's another square going on of Venus, Saturn, and the Jupiter-Mars conjunction in Gemini. So there are two T-squares, mutable and fixed, sign happening simultaneously at this full moon in your sign, Aquarius. So you have everything you need. You have the courage, you have the faith. You've seen as much as you need to see. I'm not a believer in trying to see too far ahead, because then you're kind of pre-paving in a perhaps unhelpful way, right? Rather than attempting to see sort of into the future, one would want to see what it is that you want and to kind of project that into the future, Aquarius. And you are, right, you're ready. You've been given Excalibur. You have this Fool, Uranus, step out into what seems like thin air. So your last card. Pressure, transformation. Well, you know, Pluto is about to enter your sign for the last time, November 19th, for the next 20 years after that. But, you know, Capricorn's reading, which I just did before yours, was really great. They are ready to go. They're doing so well. They had their Pluto transit. They transformed. They did the, you know, composting and all of that work that they needed to do. And now it's your turn. And maybe that is what it is. That this full moon in Aquarius, or that this new moon is sort of a starting point for you. Maybe it will give you some information about where this Plutonic transformation will really be centered. I mean, you could look certainly where you have Aquarius in your chart. I personally have Aquarius on the 8th house cusp. So I'm looking forward to a very interesting Pluto transit of Aquarius. But you might have it, you know, in the 5th house. Or in the 10th. And so that could give you a clue. But I think that even beyond that, it's this, right? It's allowing intuition to show you where this transformation will kind of have its fulcrum. Because it may touch, you know, many different parts of your life by the time that it's done, right? 20 years is a long time. There may be intense moments if you have an Aquarius sun or whatever planet you have there. When Pluto makes that conjunction. Or possibly if he squares things or opposes. right? That there'll be these little peaks of experience. But that there will be kind of a central fulcrum where this pressure is really going to be applied. And it may be that in this time, Aquarius, that you have the possibility of knowing where that will be, of seeing where that will be. And that'll be a nice sort of heads up for you. Pisces. The bee. Luck, industriousness, sweet victory. The leap. Ecstasy, bliss, belief. Spirit guardian of summer, expansion. Death. The Five of Cups. And the High Priestess. Interesting. Well, you've got some things in common with Aquarius in some ways. Though you are, it's a little different. I mean, Aquarius was kind of being prepared for a transformation, for this pressure that came out in their card, possibly due to the Pluto transit through their sign that's upcoming. But you feel like that transformation has already occurred. But maybe you don't know it. Because we have this bee with the sweet victory, but it is the bee. And so it's possible that you have been doing things, Pisces. You've kind of been going through daily things. I mean, maybe some of what you've been doing has been aimed at something transformative. But you've gotten, maybe you're a little focused. A little tightly focused on that. And that this new moon is kind of going to raise your chin. That's another image that's come up, right? This kind of lifting the chin to look up, right? And to see that you're ready to leap. In fact, maybe you've leapt without knowing. There's also a feeling kind of coming through of the subconscious moving without our knowledge. Right? That's sort of in this full moon temple thing happening. Right? That there's this orb inside that's like the subconscious moving. Right? And then there's this expansion. And what's interesting about this death card is that it's very much kind of more about rebirth, right? This fruit that is ripe and ready to go. Sort of the end of the cycle and then the beginning, the rebirth portion. And that the only thing to do now, right, is to look up, to not, whether you're looking, whether this is really sad and you're looking at something that was disappointing and spilled, or you're just focused, right? You've just been looking down, putting one foot in front of the other, doing all the things to the best of your ability to look up, right? To look up and realize, right, that you leapt and you're hanging there in midair. You didn't even need the land, Pisces. You are supported in this floating space. Last card. Passion. And maybe that's that this is about remembering why you set out on this journey of transformation, of expansion, of rebirth. It makes me think of a character in one of my favorite books. His daughter is killed, she dies, and he is heartbroken. And he learns that if he has enough money, he can go to the old man of the mountain, and the old man of the mountain will bring his daughter back to life. So he sets out to earn a lot of money. And he gets so involved in that, right? It's never enough, that he completely forgets his original purpose. He becomes this miser who has completely forgotten why he started out on the journey in the first place. And it isn't until something comes along that actually bankrupts him. But it bankrupts him with love. He falls in love. Right? He actually falls in worship. And this opens his heart. And he pours out, right? All of his money is given in tribute. And then he remembers. So why did you begin? What is it that you wanted to achieve? What was the dream? What is it that is in your heart, Pisces? Right? This is manifesting dreams that we had in the collective in the intro. It's this, right, Four of Wands exuberance, this north expansion. So lifting your head and seeing again, seeing the whole vista, the world that maybe you have lost sight of as you've focused. And then now with this beautiful Leo space, which is also square Pisces, right? That's a dynamic energy, an energy that can really bring change. So I think, Pisces, that you're going to rediscover your passion and be able to see that, right, that either you've taken the leap or that you can. Pisces. I think this is a really beautiful new moon for all of us, even as it is also challenging. I wish you all the very, very best, and I will see you next time. So long.